I don't know if we can present Martin because he is so well known that we have not to introduce him. He is celebrity of the recovered carbon black. Thank you, Martin, to be with us.
Thank you, Jean-Paul. Thank you for the nice words. Thank you, ETRA. Really, I'm here since 2015. We were in the Grand Sablon back then. And what I really like with this conference is it is the only conference in the world covering really all the applications of tire recycling circularity. And every year for 10 years, there's a fabulous crowd of colleagues here and great discussions. So thank you very much. On my side, I have a thank you as well. And I want to thank you, Jean-Paul.
For the picture, yes. Thank you, Martin.
Okay. Jean-Paul, you've been inspiring me, from 2015 for my own career path. Thank you so much, and thank you for your friendship.
Thank you, Martin.
Okay. With that out of the way, those who don't know me, I'm a market scout, and that's a topic we had this morning. I'm not a recycling consultant. I'm an application scout. I'm a market scout, and that is my passion. I myself have founded a conference. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. And I quite enjoy media production, so you can see my camera probably. You can see it on YouTube or LinkedIn a little bit later on this week. Oops. And of course, in ETRA, I've been presenting, and maybe you remember some of my memes, sometimes a little bit provocative, like there is no pyrolysis industry, the same as there's no steam cracker industry. We need to be product focused. So there is a tire pyrolysis industry, recovered carbon black industry. There is no process industry. There's no pyrolysis industry, or maybe the Starbucks strategy. So I will keep on with these memes. So new opportunities with recovered carbon black in 2025. We still have 1 million of challenges, but let's talk about the opportunities, because this year looks like to be a great year. So this is a mind map about what I want to present today. Want to talk about tire circularity, the community, our community, chemical recycling community. I want to talk about TPO and RCB, about commoditisation, and yes, classification and standards of recovered carbon black. That's a topic very close to my heart. And then some news, because the news really inspires us. So, and I won't spend, this is like a very busy slide. I will not explain that slide, you can look at it. But safe to say, every innovation starts with the expectations. And we reach the peak of inflated innovations, and then we come down. And I'm happy to see that for recovered carbon black, we're now on the upward slope. We're on the slope of enlightenment. We haven't all the answers yet. And the only question I want to raise in this forum is, the pyrolysis companies want to sell pyrolysis technology. The devulcanization companies want to sell devulcanization technology. Where is a holistic concept that is going like reusing, retread, everything, mechanical, chemical recycling, everything in one big picture? I haven't seen that vision yet. And maybe the challenge is we need to be profitable. And we get back to that in a moment as well. We're in a free market, and hence what rules our market is opportunism and profit. And maybe that's why we don't have a holistic concept for tires. I wish we would have. Community, this is my conference last year in Amsterdam. So there's a big crowd, carbon black. We have the conference again in Barcelona in early November. The community, you can see from 2018, a little workshop, 60, 70 people. Now we are almost 500 people in 2 conferences. We have one conference in Asia and one conference in Europe. RCB supply. I mean, I'm talking about RCB because RCB, for me, is the major thing to unlock the business viability for a tire pyrolysis operation. But safe to say, 25, we're like in an intermediate year. In the next 2 years, we'll have massive capacity increases. And even this is not even considering yet announcements from this year from reputable companies, which I will mention a little bit later on. So growing industry, certainly going direction of TRL9 and growing capacities. Oops, that goes a little bit too quick. TPO versus RCB. Who is the money maker? So 2 things. I always say you cannot beat the mass balance. The RCB is 40%, and this really is separating the opportunistic companies like, let's say, in China or India, who only work for the oil and they discard the carbon. This is not very sustainable. However, now is a new meme, and that is TPO makes you sexy, but the carbon makes you money. And we see investors being interested to invest in renewable, into SAF, renewable marine diesel. That's Certec. SAF is waste front, and that is sexy for the investment. It's unlocking the investment. However, like in a human relationship, there's a phase of sexiness, and then there's a phase of marriage. And sexiness is just not enough. And we don't have enough tire pyrolysis oil. You know, I mentioned it earlier on in the comments. We need 4.4 billion tons of crude. We'll never get that from tires. So yes, sexy, let's build the plants, but then let's think what can we do with the tire pyrolysis, or maybe material valorization is better than a fuel. RCB commoditisation. So this is like the coffee machine. You know, you have 1 type of coffee beans, but you have 20 coffees. Can we do this with recovered carbon black? And this is like the old ASTM suggestion, R and 4 numbers. I love it. Unfortunately, it didn't come about. So what do we have? We even have Chinese RCB standards from the Chinese Rubber Association and 2 big corporations, EcoStar and Clean Tyre. And I always compare the carbon black. Don't know whether you can see it. This is like a 3D model of a 200 type carbon black. This is like a branch. This is one aggregate. This is what carbon black looks like. And the specification for carbon black is not working. We have the iodine number, doesn't work. It's falsified by the surface groups. We have the oil absorption number, doesn't work because if you have agglomerates, we need to crush to measure the aggregates rather than the agglomerates. So we don't need a perfect specification. We need a specification. So what is the story? The ballot last year, the second one didn't go through. Already in 23, we had 4 analyses. It was commented that these are too many. I wouldn't say 4 analyses too many, because we need at least 3 properties to describe the process. We need 1 property for the tire feedstock control. That could be the ash content. We need 1 property for the pyrolysis control, so that the pyrolysis is finished. We don't have any volatiles on the recovered carbon black. That could be the toluene transmittance. In a YouTube video, I called it transmission, but it's really transmittance. And then the activity, rubber performance. This is what tire industry is interested in, and no wonder it was developed by Jorge in Continental Tire. The size is a problem. I mean, the size stands for the dispersion. The more we mill, my friends from Neumann Esser and Hosokawa will confirm, the more we mill, the better dispersion we can get. However, for that, we need a fluffy sample. And for all the others, we need a pellet. So we have 1 sample, we cannot do all the 4 tests, and that is a problem. So that is not practical. Also, for a tire maker to take in recovered carbon black in pellets, they cannot do the size test, because we need a fluffy. Now, last year, after many, many discussions, the suggestion was, let's make it simple. Just one property. Let's just look at toluene transmission. Of course, the comment was, well, it's not enough to describe the recovered carbon black. So one thing I didn't want to mention in the slide, there's also politics going on because the vetoes in both ballots come from big carbon black companies and one big recovered carbon black company. And I'm not into conspiracy theories, but I like to see all the small recovered carbon black producers be more active in the ASTM and have a stronger voice. Now, commoditisation, why is the absence of specifications a problem? We talked about it this morning already. It is too costly. If we have the business process make to order, which we have for recovered carbon black, every recovered carbon black maker needs to make one product for a specific tire maker. They need to change the whole process for the next tire maker. Michelin wants something else than Pirelli. When we change the process, we have off-spec material, we have costs, we need to test double. It's just, we can afford it if we make mascara. The ladies among you know how expensive it is. It's like $1,000 a kilogram. You don't buy a kilogram of mascara because it will last 10 years. But and then when we go down in what I call the market map, the carbon market map, somewhere we have carbon black. Somewhere we have carbon black, and coal, of course, is the biggest commodity with the lowest price. What we want to have, we want the business process make to stock. We want to have a production that runs a line. Nothing changes. We do quality control in intervals. We don't even stop the line, maybe only for predictive maintenance. This is what the carbon black makers do. That's the business process we want. Already mentioned, the RCB industry needs a voice. But when a small company, RCB company, talks to a big tire maker, big carbon black producer, there's a disparity in the, it's not an eye-level discussion. So industry association, we tried it in 23, but all the companies were financially not strong and we couldn't go forward. But I hope that some companies gather together for an industry association. News from Movin'On. I was honored to be invited by Michelin to Movin'On. And I give you quotes from two CEOs, important CEOs. Michelin CEO, Florent Menegaux. There will be no ecology without economy. No circularity without a business model. And we see this year. I mean, all the sustainability goals, they are noble. But at the end, we need to make money. We need to make profits. And there's no circular business without making money. The second one is a little bit more deeper by Philip Kern, a CEO of Solvay, so major precipitated silica producer. Today, we're facing two main challenges. In Europe, we only have the stick, we don't have the carrot. So we're punished for things. We're not really being encouraged to do the good things. So negativity instead of positivity. And that's a shame. And the second one is we're overwhelmed by regulations. It's not like we have a lack of regulations, we have too much, but they're not helping, they're breaking, they're preventing us from going forward in the circular economy. News from Tyre Technology Expo. It was good to see, after Michelin first and Bridgestone have presented the first visions for tire circularity, to see Conti, a keynote, having a concept as profound as Bridgestone and Michelin. Michelin, there were two presentations, and one quote came from Sander Vermeulen. And I found interesting that Sander said, we're accepting higher costs for sustainable materials if there's a clear pathway for cost reduction with industrialization and scale up. And that, to me, reflects reality. I only wonder whether, of course, the purchasing department got the email as well, because maybe they talk a different language. And the second one was a very deep presentation where actually I had trouble following, although I think, I'm quite analytic engineer. And it was about the chain of custody with the mass balance. And what Michelin actually said was, Michelin does not accept mass balance products when the allocation comes from a different site, maybe even a different region. They want the physical connectivity, and that makes sense. But with that, I'm on the fence because the mass balance helps the small companies to sell products. ISCC right now is a major tool for enabling this mass balance accounting. Of course, ISCC doesn't say anything, does anything about sustainability. And Asian companies, they get ISCC and they sell it like it is a sustainability credential. It isn't. It's just an accounting tool. Industry news, VTTI in Pyre. VTTI is the infrastructure branch of Vitol. Vitol, I think, is the biggest oil trader. In 23, they had a profit of 13 billion. I believe the whole tire industry in Europe has a revenue of 16 billion, so that's a big company. In the port of Antwerp-Bruges, very positive, 90,000 tons. Clean Industries collaborates with Viva Energy in Australia. Also good news, Epsilon Carbon, that's the first integration of a tire maker into recovered carbon black. At the moment, they're just buying the recovered carbon black, but they will have own production on their manufacturing site. Tiger Infrastructure, good news for Boulder, who have been impacted for 1 year or so without proper financing. Now, big plans, of course, in the port of Antwerp. And as the presenter before me showed, Belgium really is the place to be for pyrolysis and tire circularity. Tyre as well, port of Ostend, Tyre, a new company. Great to see new companies coming in, and almost every week or every month there's new companies jumping on the train. That's really good to see. Orion, you know, I was really impressed by Black Cycle, and for a long time I thought, okay, this is a research project. It is not. Orion is building tanks, and Orion is making 100% carbon black from tire pyrolysis oil. So this is the outcome of Black Cycle. This one is supply agreement with Contec, but earlier on or last year was the investment in Alpha Carbon, and of course they have other sources for tire pyrolysis oil because one side is not enough. Bridgestone Eco Carbon Black was interesting as well. That's a Japanese project. So a lot of projects, a lot of good energy. We haven't solved all the issues, but there's a lot of positive energy. So that's very good to see. And that's my presentation. Thank you. I have an industry report. That's my advertisement. Prospects for recovered carbon black. There's a discount when you put ETRA. There's a special discount this week for the industry report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin, for the presentation.
I know sooner or later it will come.